everybody, welcome back to my channel. Mia here. Today's video is going to be another tag video. I saw this tag and it's kind of older. It's I think a year old. I thought it would be fun to record one of my own, so here we are. And the name of this tag is the Why I'm a Reader tag. It's only 8 questions, so it's a relatively short tag. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Choose one word that describes being a reader. For me, the first word that came to mind when I first read this question was adventurous. And the reason for that is because I feel that every time you read a story, you're going in an adventure. So every time you lose yourself in a book, you're experiencing all kinds of people's backgrounds and different lives, whether it is a more realistic kind of read or a more fantastical kind of read, you're still going on some kind of adventure. So that's why the first word that came to mind was adventurous, because I feel that being a reader is being adventurous. What's the very first book you fell in love with? For me, that is this Spanish book. I believe they have it translated as well in several different languages, but my copy is in Spanish. In Spanish it's called La Edad de Oro, and it's like the golden age, or the age of gold. No, I think it's the golden age, the correct translation. And this is by Jose Marti. I've had this book since I was, I think, 3 years old. It's the very first book I purchased. Well, I didn't purchase it with my money, but my dad purchased it for me in Cuba. And as you can tell, it's really old. I mean, it's starting to fall to pieces, but I still hold on to it. And I actually still read it from time to time, even though the pages are falling off and they're pretty much old and it's in a bad condition. But it's my most precious book because this is the book that got me really invested into reading, and that got me to love reading and love that experience, because my dad used to read me these stories when I was younger, and it was our quality time. So it's very valuable to me. If I ever had to pick a book from my entire library that has to go with me, if there were to be a fire or whatever, it would be this one, because I feel it's irreplaceable. Not just because it is a hard book to find in a hardcover, but I'll never be able to replace the emotional value that I've given this particular book. So yeah, that's the first book I fell in love with. Hardcover or paperback? I personally prefer paperback. I feel they're just easier to hold. They're easier to read, easier to carry with you. I love how the hardcovers look in the bookshelves, but when it comes to the books that I like to pick up and read, I prefer paperbacks. How has reading shaped your identity? I feel that reading shapes a reader's identity in many ways, because I've said this before in my channel, but I'm a firm believer that when you read, you get to live through other people's lives, pretty much walking their shoes. And I feel that that allows me to be more understanding to different kinds of people with different backgrounds and different beliefs. It also helps me be a little bit more sympathetic towards others that might be less fortunate than I am. What book do you read when you need to be comforted? Now, I don't necessarily pick up this book every time I'm feeling kind of blue, but it's a book that really just gives me the warmth and fuzzies, and is a book that I just love reading. The book that I'm talking about is The Secret Garden by Frances Hudson Burnett, and I love this story. I've watched the movie a few times as well, but I find this story to be such a heartwarming story that teaches you so much. And if I feel kind of blue and I want to read something that's gonna make my heart just swell up, this is the first book that I think about. Like I said, I don't pick it up every time I'm feeling blue, but it's definitely a book that I will lean on, or at least start thinking about if I need some kind of comforting. Who taught you to be a reader, or who inspired you to be a reader? For me, it was my dad, because at a very young age, since I was a baby pretty much, he always would read to me. And he would read to me all kinds of things. He would read to me kids' stories, he would make up stories sometimes, and it was our little quality time. And every day at noon, we would sit down together and cuddle, and he would open a book and we would read the book together. And he is really who got me invested, because every time I would pick up a book, I would automatically go back to those childhood times, which I really value and hold dear to my heart. So he is the person that really inspired me to be a reader. Describe your dream reading lounge. For me, that would be a little room. I like it to be kind of cozy, so nothing too crazy, but a small room that has bookshelves in pretty much every wall, with the exception of one wall where it will have a floor-to-ceiling glass window, and hopefully this would be in some kind of forest or mountain, or someplace with a beautiful nature view filled with greens and maybe a lake at the bottom, so that when I sit down in my comfortable chair to read my books, I'll be able to kind of glance out and just kind of feel as one with nature and lose myself into my stories and the books that I'll be reading, which will all be surrounding me, of course. I think that would be just the perfect room. And the last question is, what book changed the way you act or see the world? And I think that every book that you read in some way influences the way that you act, the way that you view the world, who you are as a person. I feel that every story has a little something that sticks with you after reading it, and maybe makes you see things differently, or consider other options to those that you've always believed in, especially because it helps you become more open-minded. And it kind of goes connected to the previous question that we had. I feel that they all affect you somehow, and they help you view things differently, or might change your perspective on some things. Every single book has that power if you let it. And that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tag. Hopefully it wasn't boring. If you did enjoy it, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up and let me know you like this kind of videos. And if you would like to see more of my videos, go ahead and subscribe down below. I hope to see you guys very soon in another video. Bye!